Coding is an art form, and like any form of art, the code that you write shows a little bit about who you are as a person. The approach that you take to solve a challenge shows how you think on your feet, it shows how you overcome obstacles and troubleshoot steps along the way, and it's a great reason why interviewers ask you to write a little bit of code to get an idea of who they're hiring. What we're going to be doing today is tackling the fundamental coding sort of challenge that is given to most coding applicants, the FizzBuzz problem. First, a little bit about me, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the problem that we're doing today. Myself, I have been coding for the last 20 years, since 2002. I started learning HTML and JavaScript very early on to learn how to make websites, and over the years, everything I've learned has been self-taught. I have learned new languages, new skills, and new techniques to build more complicated websites, and more recently to build little overlays for my Twitch streams, which are basically just websites running in OBS. Everything I've learned has been to solve problems as they come up. I've never really expansively learned coding. I've just kind of learned what I needed to fundamentally come up with a solution, and that's my coding style. I bodge stuff until it works. What we're going to do is we're going to take that to the FizzBuzz problem and see how I would actually fare in a sort of general test of coding knowledge. Now, the FizzBuzz problem is designed to replicate the game FizzBuzz, which is played on schools, to teach how to... Well, basically, it's to teach division and to teach factorials. The way the game works is that you start counting from 1, and every time you reach a multiple of 3, you say the word fizz. Every time you reach a multiple of the number 5, you say the word buzz. And when you reach a multiple of both of them, you say the words FizzBuzz. So, for example, 1, 2, fizz, 4, buzz, fizz, 7, 8, fizz, buzz, 11, fizz, 13, 14, FizzBuzz. I think I did that right. I probably did that wrong, and maths teachers everywhere are going to chastise me if I did. But that's what we're trying to replicate today. And I'm going to turn around and do it on this computer right now real quickly. You're going to see my entire thought process from start to finish. And the point of this exercise is mostly just for fun. I'm curious how I would survive an interviewing coding question. And if you are someone who does interview people for coding jobs, feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you think of my solution. If you're someone who's just looking to learn, this is what 20 years of self-taught coding has produced as me, a programmer. And it can kind of show you some good techniques, some flaws, and overall how you would approach a solution like this to get basically a piece of code that plays FizzBuzz. So I'm going to spin around and let's take a look and see what I do. Remember, I'm doing this all live, so there are going to be a few hiccups here and there. We're going to show everything, every troubleshooting step, every issue that my code runs into in live time. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so now I'm at my computer. I've set everything up here in VS Code. I'm coding in JavaScript because it's the language I'm most familiar with. Everything is running in a node.js environment, and I've written out the problem in the description below. So if you'd like to try it before I try it here on the video, go ahead and pause and give it a shake. Once you're ready, be right here, and let's do that. Pause, and okay. This is the unedited part of this video, so there's going to be a lot more of ums and ums going as we go through it. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an output. So the way I've always done this, for those of you who might have been on my live Twitch streams, I once coded a Pokemon tracker, and the way I did it is I always set up a variable called output, and I have either for the tracker, it was an HTML website. For here, we're going to use console.log to just throw that value out there. I can, sorry for the burp there. I can type things, I swear I can. You're going to see my live typing mistakes here as well. Okay, so var output is equal to that. Console.log is equal to output, and let's just throw in the word test to make sure that console.log is actually giving me the correct output, which it is. Okay. So down here is where we're going to see the code as it renders. I've zoomed this in a lot so that it's easy to read on phones and whatnot. So we're going to be doing a little bit of scrolling back and forth. I do apologize. The next thing we're going to have to set up is a for loop. And the way I like to set up my for loops is with the letter L is my loop variable. which var L is equal to, we're running from 1 to 100. So we're going to start at 1. Normally I know computers start at 0, but we're going to start at 1. So L is less than or equal to 100. So it runs until L is equal to 100. And then we're going to go ahead and increment L by 1 every time the loop runs. Let's go ahead and let's just make output equal to L and test that, and that should just run us the numbers 1 through 100. There's a 5. It gives us the number 100 because console.log needs to be inside the for loop. You're seeing all my little tiny mistakes. This little stuff that you never realize that you make a mistake on. All right, so now we have 1 through 100. We've established that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to basically be running this as every time it's divisible by 3 or 5, it's going to be throwing out the words fizzbuzz. So the way I'm going to set that up is I'm going to have it first check. So FL, the loop that we're running through, modulus 3. Modulus, basically what this is doing is it's dividing this number divided by 3 and giving me the remainder. So L divided by 3 is equal to 0 is what I'm looking for. So if the remainder of L divided by 3 is equal to 0, so if it's divisible by 3, that's going to be one condition, or L divisible by 5 is equal to 0. So if I set that up, this basically will run this piece of code if either L is divisible by 3 or divisible by 5. And in fact, the way we can check that is we can go ahead and make our output equal to that. And if we do that, this should work. Yeah, so it shows false, true, true, false, which basically means that it's running it correctly, which it should show me that it's running it correctly if I scroll all the way back to the beginning. Yeah, false 1, 2, fizz is 3, 4 is buzz, or yeah, 4 is buzz, so false. So it looks like it's working correctly. So first it's checking if it's either November is divisible there. Then we're going to check, or we're going to do if L is divisible by 3. And this is why I like using output strings. I can just say output is equal to fizz. And of course, if L is divisible by 5. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have output plus buzz. So it's basically going to take, if it's divisible by both, it'll run both these conditions, fizz and buzz, and then it should output the word fizz buzz correctly. So let's go ahead and run that. And it didn't do it correctly because I forgot that this needs to be in an else statement. So what I had done here on accident is basically, and I need to put semicolons here, I basically told it to do all the fancy calculations, and then I came upon the else. So it just had output here. So it's like, okay, so you've done this, you've made your output equal to this, and then you're going to override all that and make it equal to the number, which is not what we wanted. So now we should be able to see. Right, okay, so here's the other thing. What we need to do is we need to first, at the start of the loop, clear the output altogether. So output is equal to an empty string, because what it's done is it's still holding the previous value, which is where you got 98 buzz. And so now it should run it as what we need, 98, fizz, buzz, fizz. I think 90 is the last one that's divisible by both. And it's not actually giving me fizz buzz. Okay. Is that the way it's working for all of them? Yeah, so it just gives me an empty. Huh. If L% is equal to 3. See, now we're gonna go through my brain here really quickly, format so I can clearly read all this. If L% equals 3, these need to be defined as an actual statement. Try that now. And 90 should be okay. Yeah, it just said if it's divisible. I never actually said check to make sure that it's actually divisible. So that's where that issue came from. We can clean this up, or we can make this a little bit neater by having that way there, so that it always. This is technically not necessary, but this means I could add more numbers if I wanted to. So yeah, if it checks that, and runs it, checks that, and runs it, else checks that, and makes it there. The only thing I could do here to clean this up a little bit is these are duplicates and these are duplicates. And one thing that happened in my Pokemon code a lot was I'd have to change around duplicate numbers a lot and I'd miss one. So var multiple 1, or well, we can call it factor 1. Factor 1 is equal to 3. Factor 2 is equal to 5. And then we just have to replace 3 with factor 1, 1, factor 1, factor 2, factor 2. Go ahead and run that. You know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it run 05, because that will actually end us with FizzBuzz, so we know that it works. Yeah, okay, so now I can go ahead and change this to say, I don't know, 7, and it will give us the appropriate fallout, which, does 7 go into 105? 7 ones are... Okay, that was a happy coincidence. I didn't actually... I didn't think 7 went into 105. That's just a happy coincidence that worked. Yeah, so we can change that now. Pop this back to 100 because that's technically the method of the problem. And yeah, that would be. See, so this is how I said I write code until it works, and this works. This is a functional piece of code, so that's where I'm going to stop it here. Everything is I'll go ahead and upload this little tiny bit of code into GitHub, and I'll link it in the description below if you want to just look at it and toy around with it instead of just copying it out directly. But yeah, I guess that's what we're gonna do. Like I said, if you are someone who is a coding hirer, if you interview people for coding jobs and it's your job to actually judge this piece of code, please go ahead and tell me what you think I did, or how you think I did, because I'm actually curious how this would hold up to other applicants. I haven't looked at anyone else's solution for this before I did this for the video, so it is completely how I would approach it. And yeah, I'm curious how this actually holds up. Thank you guys for watching. I probably will do more of these kind of little coding problems in the future, probably a little bit more complicated ones. And until then, thanks for watching, and I will see you all around next time. I don't know what it will be next time. I'll just know that there's going to be a video coming in. There will be more coding stuff in the future too. It's going to be a lot of art and coding. I like both. Going to stop rambling here and just hit the stop record button. But everyone, thank you for popping in, and yeah, until next time, bye-bye.